They say silence is peaceful. But sometimes, silence is just what's left after something screams. Ethan Gray wasn't superstitious. He didn't believe in ghosts, curses, or bad luck. He believed in logic, in reason, in things that could be explained. So when he signed the lease for apartment 6B on Ashgrove Street, the one the landlord said had been vacant for a while, he thought he was getting a steal. $800 a month for a fully furnished one-bedroom in the city? It felt like winning the lottery. The landlord, an older woman with glassy eyes and hands that never stopped shaking, gave him the keys with a warning that felt half forgotten. "Don't mind the noises at night," she said softly. "The building settles. Especially up top." Ethan smiled politely. "No problem. I'm a heavy sleeper." She didn't smile back. The first thing Ethan noticed when he moved in was how quiet the place was. The walls seemed thick, almost padded. The air felt heavy, not stale, but dense, like the apartment was holding its breath. There was furniture, simple and neat, a couch, a bed, a coffee table, all wrapped in thin plastic that crinkled when he walked past. He peeled off the covers one by one. The smell underneath was faintly sweet, almost like perfume. He told himself it was nothing, just leftover air freshener from the last tenant. But there wasn't supposed to be a last tenant. The lease paperwork had said vacant since 2016. That night, Ethan sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. Outside, rain began to fall, soft against the windows. And then, he heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Footsteps. Slow. Steady. From the ceiling above him. He frowned. The landlord said he was on the top floor. There shouldn't be anyone up there. He muted the TV. The sound continued, pacing, dragging, stopping right above where he sat. Then silence. Ethan stood, looking up. The ceiling was perfectly smooth. No cracks. No crawl space. Still, he climbed onto a chair and pressed his ear against it. Nothing. He laughed to himself, shaking it off. Old buildings make noise. Pipes, wood, temperature changes. Science. He went to bed. At 3:14 a.m., he woke to the sound of a door creaking open. He sat up, heart pounding, and realized it was his own bedroom door, slowly swinging on its hinges. No wind. No draft. He got up, flicked on the light, and saw nothing unusual. Just that heavy silence again. Then he noticed something carved faintly into the inside of the doorframe, something he hadn't seen before. A set of small letters, scratched deep into the paint. Listen closely. Voiceover, low, tense. When you live alone, every sound becomes a story. And some stories were never meant to be heard. Over the next few days, Ethan tried to ignore the small things. The feeling that the air got colder whenever he entered the living room. The faint scent of perfume that grew stronger at night. The quiet knock he heard each evening at exactly 10:03 p.m. He kept a note on his phone. Knocking starts again, same time. Footsteps above, short steps, maybe animals in ceiling. But then, on the fourth night, something changed. The knocking didn't stop. Tap, tap, tap. Then silence. Then again, closer. Ethan froze in his chair. The sound wasn't coming from above this time. It was coming from the wall behind him. He slowly turned his head. The wall looked normal. Bare white paint. But when he pressed his ear to it, he heard, breathing. Slow. Shallow. Human. He stumbled back, grabbing his phone light and shining it across the wall. Nothing. He called the landlord the next morning, trying to laugh it off. "Hey, is there maybe, like, a vent behind my living room wall? I think I'm hearing." "You're on the top floor, Mr. Gray," she interrupted quickly. There's nothing above or behind you. No vents. Just insulation. Her tone had changed, sharper now, like she didn't want to talk about it. If you're hearing things, she added quietly, you might want to, not listen. And she hung up. That night, Ethan recorded the sound on his phone. He left it running beside the wall for 30 minutes. When he played it back, the first few minutes were silence, then faint tapping again. But after the tapping, a whisper. Barely audible, but there. A woman's voice. It's still here. Ethan froze. He replayed it over and over. Same voice. Same whisper. It's still here. He uploaded the clip to his laptop, boosted the volume. At the end of the whisper, something else came through, a word buried in static. Underneath. He spent the next hour pulling furniture away from the wall, searching for a loose panel, a hatch, anything. Nothing. But when he moved the couch, he found a faint square outline near the floor, like a vent cover sealed with paint. He dug his fingers around the edge until the panel came loose. Behind it, darkness. And something else. A folded piece of paper wedged deep inside. He reached in, pulled it out, and unfolded it carefully. Old paper, yellowed with age, the edges burnt slightly. There were only 3 words written on it. Don't look up. Voiceover, cold, soft. Warnings don't mean much when you've already done the thing you were warned about. Ethan looked up. The ceiling above him was still. Perfectly still. Until the light flickered, once, twice. And in that brief second of darkness, he saw something. A handprint. Pressed from inside the ceiling panel. Sound fades out, faint thump above. Voiceover, fading. He thought he was alone. But silence is never empty. Soft static, tape click. Voiceover, calm, eerie. There's a moment when fear stops being imagination. And starts becoming memory. The question is, whose memory is it? Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat on the couch, staring up at the faint, dusty handprint on the ceiling. Every time the light flickered, it seemed to change shape, larger, darker, more defined. By morning, it was gone. He told himself he'd imagined it, a trick of shadows and exhaustion. But the fear that crept into his bones didn't fade with daylight. He went down to the building's front office. The landlord wasn't there, just an old metal filing cabinet and a cluttered desk with faded papers. Ethan flipped through the drawers, looking for something, a maintenance log, old rent receipts, anything that mentioned apartment 6B. He found a folder labeled 6th floor, incidents. The papers inside were yellowed and wrinkled, some barely legible. One headline caught his eye. Tenant missing, no signs of forced entry. The article was dated 2016. The same year the lease said the apartment went vacant. A name. Lena Morrow. Age 27. Last seen leaving the apartment at night after neighbors reported strange noises and crying. Ethan swallowed hard. There was a photo, grainy, black and white. A woman with short dark hair, faint smile, eyes that seemed too tired for her age. He looked at the date again. October 12, 2016. The same date carved into the corner of the warning note he'd found behind the wall. Don't look up. Voiceover, low, trembling. The dead don't always leave. Sometimes, they wait for someone to remember them. That night, Ethan decided to sleep in the living room, if only to prove to himself that he wasn't afraid. He set up his phone camera on a tripod, pointed at the ceiling. He pressed record. At first, nothing happened. Hours passed, silence, except for the occasional creak of the wood. Then, at 3:17 a.m., the screen flickered. A shape. A faint outline moving inside the ceiling. Not crawling, drifting. Like someone floating just above the plaster. He froze, staring at the screen. Then came the sound. Tap, tap, tap. But not random this time. It had rhythm. Almost like Morse code. He grabbed his notebook, scribbling down the sequence. Tap tap, pause, tap tap tap. When he looked it up later, it translated to one word. Help. By now, sleep was impossible. He kept researching Lena Morrow, scouring the internet, old newspapers, anything archived. But the strange thing was, every photo, every record, had something wrong. Her face was always slightly blurred. Sometimes missing entirely. And in one photo, the one from the police report, someone had drawn over her eyes in black ink. The caption beneath it read, "Subject's remains were never found." The following day, Ethan climbed the narrow stairwell that led above his floor. It ended at a locked metal door labeled "Roof Access." A dusty "No Entry" sign dangled by one screw. But beneath it, scrawled faintly in marker, were 3 words. "Don't open it." He stood there for a long time. Then he turned back, but as he did, the door behind him made a quiet sound. Click. Unlocked. Voiceover, slow, tense. Some doors open for a reason. Others, open because something wants them to. He pushed it open slowly. The air that hit him was icy, colder than outside, colder than it should have been. The small service hallway beyond was narrow, unfinished, concrete walls, hanging wires, and the faint sound of dripping water. He followed it, his phone flashlight trembling in his hand. At the end of the hall was a small, square maintenance hatch, a metal grate half pulled open. He crouched down and shone his light inside. There were old boxes, bits of insulation, scraps of paper. And one thing that didn't belong. A small cassette tape. Unlabeled. Dust-covered. He picked it up, brushed it off, and turned it over. Someone had written something on the back in shaky pen. For the next tenant. Back inside his apartment, Ethan found an old tape player in one of the cabinets, probably left by the last resident. He hesitated for a moment before pressing play. Click. Static. Then, a woman's voice. Soft. Uneven. Breathing between words. "If you found this, it means I didn't leave. I can't. It won't let me." Ethan froze. It was Lena's voice. He knew it. There's something inside the walls. It watches. It mimics sounds. Sometimes it pretends to be me. Don't answer when it knocks. Don't look at the ceiling. And whatever you do, don't play this tape out loud. The tape hissed. Then, faintly. It's already listening. Ethan's blood ran cold. The lights in the apartment flickered again. Then, 3 sharp knocks from behind him. Tap. 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 He turned. The sound was coming from the wall, the same one where he'd found the warning note. But this time, the tapping continued, faster, louder, urgent. He backed away, phone flashlight shaking. Then, from inside the wall, a voice. "Please, help me." It sounded like Lena. But slightly off, too slow, too hollow. Ethan pressed his hand to the wall. "Who's there?" he whispered. Silence. Then the voice again, closer now. "You shouldn't have played it." Voiceover, quietly. "Some messages aren't meant to be heard. Some echoes, never stop repeating." The wall began to move, pulsing slightly, like something was pressing from the inside. Ethan stumbled backward, hitting the table. The tape player fell, the cassette still spinning. The voice on the tape changed. It wasn't Lena anymore. It was his own. "Ethan, don't look up." The ceiling creaked. He looked up, unable to stop himself. The light flickered once more, and this time, the shape above the plaster wasn't a hand. It was a face. Pale. Featureless. Pressed so tightly against the ceiling it distorted, as if trying to push through. The light went out. When it came back on, Ethan was gone. The couch was overturned, his phone recording still running, static-filled but clear enough to catch one last whisper. Another tenant, another voice. Tape click, static fades. Voiceover, slow, fading. The apartment was silent again. Silent, but not empty. Because silence remembers. And this place. This place listens. Soft hum, fade out with low static. Ethan Gray disappeared. The landlord posted a small notice on the front door of the building. Apartment 6B, vacant. Available for rent. No police tape. No press. No questions. Just another name gone missing from a city that forgets too easily. The story might have ended there. If it weren't for Hannah Lewis. A film student. 23. Searching for cheap housing while finishing her documentary project on urban isolation. When she found the ad for 6B, it felt like destiny. Perfect lighting. Great price. No roommates. The landlord barely spoke during the signing. Only one warning, whispered as she slid the key across the desk. Don't stay up past 3 a.m. Hannah laughed. You mean it's haunted? The old woman didn't laugh back. Voiceover, whispered. Some warnings aren't meant to scare you. They're meant to buy you time. Hannah moved in on a gray Sunday afternoon. The air inside was strange, quiet but full, like a deep breath that never exhaled. She unpacked her camera gear, setting up for a test recording. Her project was simple, capture the stillness of city life. But something about the apartment's silence drew her in immediately. Every footstep echoed too long. Every sound, the flick of a light switch, the creak of a floorboard, felt watched. She whispered to her camera as she filmed. Apartment 6B. Top floor. The quietest place I've ever been. It's perfect. That night, around 10:03 p.m., she heard it. Tap, tap, tap. She froze, glancing toward the living room wall. 3 knocks. Slow. Careful. Old pipes, she muttered. But when she pressed her ear to the wall, her camera caught the faintest sound on the audio track, a whisper, too low to notice then. New voice. October 19, 11:57 p.m. Hannah couldn't sleep. The quiet had changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It was, waiting. The air grew colder. Her reflection in the dark TV screen seemed to move slightly slower than she did. She turned on her camera again, aiming it at the wall. Okay, weird night update. Still hearing tapping. Landlord says no vents, no neighbors up here. Maybe raccoons? She laughed nervously. Then jumped as something clattered in the kitchen. Her camera caught it, a coffee mug falling from the counter by itself. She rewound the footage, frame by frame. Right before it fell, a shadow crossed the counter. But there was no one there. She checked her phone. 3:14 a.m. Her stomach sank, the exact time Ethan had written in his notes. She didn't know that, of course. Not yet. The apartment creaked again. And this time, she heard it clearly, a faint voice from the ceiling. Help me. Voiceover, low, tense. It always starts with pity. And ends with listening. The next morning, Hannah found something under the couch. A piece of yellowed paper, brittle and burned around the edges. 3 words, scrawled in fading ink. Don't look up. She frowned. Okay, someone's idea of a joke. She turned the note over. On the back, a faint reddish fingerprint. Old. Dried. Human. Hannah didn't leave. Instead, curiosity took over. She began researching the building. Old records. Tenant history. That's when she found it, a missing persons report. Ethan Gray, 29, last seen 2 weeks ago. Listed address, apartment 6B. Her heart sank. But then she found another name. Lena Morrow, 2016. Same apartment. Same date. It was a pattern. Every few years, someone moved in. Every few years, someone disappeared. And the apartment always went silent again. That night, Hannah set up multiple cameras, one aimed at the ceiling, one at the wall, and one by the door. She wanted to catch it. Whatever it was. 3 a.m. came. Silence. Then, a faint scratching sound above the ceiling panel. Her camera light flickered. And the voice came again. It's still here. She whispered back, trembling. Who are you? No reply. Then, from the speaker of her recording camera, another voice. Her own. Don't look up. She froze. The voice was hers, but distorted, slower, lower, echoing through the room. You shouldn't have played it. The words from the tape. The same tape Ethan had found. She turned, scanning the room, every muscle locked. The wall pulsed slightly, like it was breathing again. Then, the ceiling cracked. A faint line spreading across it like a vein. Something was inside. Voiceover, soft, panicked. Some places don't hold memories. They feed on them. The ceiling broke open. Dust and plaster fell as something pale and shapeless pressed through, a face half-formed, skin stretched thin, a mouth opening where no sound should come from. Hannah screamed, grabbing her camera. The footage went wild, shaking, spinning, catching flashes of the ceiling as something pulled itself through. A long, white arm. Fingers too thin. Reaching down. The lights exploded. When the video footage was found days later, it ended with a final image. The ceiling, perfectly repaired. No hole. No cracks. Just a faint handprint pressed into the plaster. And a voice, faint under the static. Another voice added. Months later, the apartment was cleaned out again. Fresh paint. New furniture. New locks. Ready for another tenant. The landlord looked older now, her hands shaking as she signed the new lease agreement. The young man smiled as he accepted the key. Thanks, ma'am. It's a quiet building, right? She hesitated. For a moment, it looked like she might say something. Then she just smiled weakly and whispered. It's very quiet. Voiceover, soft, final. Silence isn't peace. It's a recording, waiting to play again. And in apartment 6B. The tape never stops.